All right, everyone. Good afternoon. It's my first time in Berlin, and I'm in love. And I'm sorry it took me so long to visit Berlin. Let's get a feeling of the room. I just want to know how many of you come from a strategic background. All right, management. All right, how many of you are developers rising? And this is why these sessions are so popular, all right? We'll see why this moment, when it's speaking about culture change, when it's speaking about how do you change the behaviors of your team, it's because it's very difficult, in fact, to manage people and also to apply change within culture. And that's what we're going to see today. I have something to tell you. 8 years ago, I woke up deaf. So I wasn't born deaf, and I just one day woke up and I was deaf. So I have a cochlear implant. It's cool because I can say that I'm literally a cyborg. So for a gig, how cool is that? Also, my hearing comes with a remote control. Very handy. Right? But in these sort of situations, not so good, because if you ask questions, I might not hear you, okay? So let's leave the questions to the end, and then what I'll ask is if you have a question, just raise your arm, I'll come near you, and then I'll be able to pick it up. Cool? Great. All right. Cool. Right. So about me, my name is Morgan Martins. I live in London. I am originally from Portugal, Lisbon, but I've been in London for almost 15 years now. And since last September, I work for the Institute of Physics. The Institute of Physics is a membership organization. We work for physicists, and of course, we do have building up a lot of digital infrastructure. So when I started in September, what I had was this beautiful chaos. Why beautiful? Because you don't start a job and say it's chaos. You put the beautiful in front of it and it's nicer. But the thing is, if it is chaos, it means that you have movement, right? Things are working, things are going forward. And as Einstein said, it takes a normal person to see the chaos, but a genius to understand the chaos. I'm not saying I'm a genius, right? I'm just building my team so that we can get that chaos organized. So about culture. Why is culture so important? I had a member of the public coming over early on to me, Perica somewhere, yeah. And he was saying about culture, it's strategy for breakfast. That is a quote from the strategic and change management guru, Peter Drucker, that says that culture, it's strategy for breakfast. How many of you know exactly why? Right. Good. Right. I'll give you a badge now. So one of the things that happen is with strategy, how do you go implement strategy? It's like a plan, right? You have an outcome that you want to achieve, and then you plan to achieve that outcome. And it's about, even when we go in organizing our DevOps pipeline, all right, and you go about deployment and so on, all of that has a sort of steps into it. So why can't we do the same thing with culture? Because of these bugs. Humans. Typical and the most common bugs of any strategy. Right? Because you can't achieve strategy, you can't deliver your outcomes if these guys don't want to do it. Isn't it true? And sometimes it can be harder. So my mission here today is to give you a few tools, to give you also a few resources so that you can go and debug your strategy, debug your culture. Is it going to be easy? No. Otherwise, we'll not have a full house. Look at the back. There's people standing up at the back. So there is, again, a reason for this to happen is because it's hard. It's difficult. And in fact, I'm going to tell you and share something, which is sometimes when I give these talks and I meet other people that are managing developers as well, it feels almost like a support group. Hi, my name is Morgan Martins. I manage developers. All right, so your session takeout today, it looks very much like this, all right? It's about what you're going to be able to do and what you're going to be able to achieve as well. All right, so let's start with the audit. You are here. Good place or bad place, doesn't matter. This is where you are, and this is what you have to work with. All right? Again, when I started my job at IOP, a lot of people were asking me to change things immediately. I said, I'm not going to change anything yet. Let's see what I have first, and if I need to change. All right? And I do love change. So when it comes to the audit, it's about understanding where you are. Now, what I'm going to speak to you about is a behavior framework. And you can apply this behavior framework first with your team, all right? And if you don't have a team per se and you are here to learn more about digital transformation and you want and need to do culture change at scale, then this applies exactly the same as well. So when it comes about your audits is understanding what are the skills that you have in your team. And when it becomes about culture, does anyone knows what exactly is culture? Culture is how things are done around here. Right? I go to Lisbon to my parents' house. Breakfast is done there in a certain way that is not done in London, my home. Right? Things at IOP, the Institute of Physics, are not done in the same way that were done in my previous job. And it was another charity. And it's totally different from 7 years ago when I was working for the Washington Group. Totally different. All right? So you start a new job. You are looking and you are going like finding out, how is things done around here? I don't want to break anything. I don't want to disrupt yet. Right? And this is what you have to find out. The second thing you have to find out is what are the skills audit of the organization. How people deal with email. How good are they at email? How good are people doing social media on behalf of the company? And most important, and my favorite one, it's how continuous improvement is done around here, if it's done at all. So this audit is how you're going to set up, is your benchmark. This is where we are at the moment. And then, of course, you need to go and look where you want to be. What are your requirements? So, for example, if my team doesn't have a positive attitude towards failure, right? What do I want to do? Following the DevOps movement, following lean principles, agile, right? I want them to think about it's okay to fail as long as you learn from it, okay? And also if you take control risks. So failure, it's an option for my team, but I need to reward them as well, as much as when they fail, as much as when they have success. Because I want to reward is the behavior. Now, we'll talk about rewards later on, but when it comes up with the requirements, one of the things that you need to know as well is how will you measure those behaviors? And this is very tricky, okay? There is no software. There is no like behavior metrics as a service. Nothing like that. This is about you tapping, you building maybe like a dashboard with certain behaviors, and you go about how many times people had that behavior. And you can do this in Agile Tribe, in the squad example. Okay? So, you have the requirements, you know what is needs to be done, so let's do it. Let's get done, let's put things in action. And when it comes to an action, and you will see further down an example of that framework, this is, for example, some of the streams that you can have. So you want to have behaviors inside lean thinking, okay? Then you want to have people that are data-driven. What are the behaviors of a data-driven person? Inquisitive. He wants to analyze, he wants to discover, he wants to research. Okay? You can do, I'm thinking about another tools that you can join to do this sort of like finding out, but definitely it's just about doing a list. What are the good behaviors of a data-driven person? What are the good behaviors of continuous improvement? I tell you one behavior for continuous improvement, something that still surprises a lot of people when I say this. But every single day, Monday to Friday, on my way home, the only thing I do on the tube is thinking about what I did today. Right, that meeting with Joe, gosh, I was a little bit harsh. And then I do not go to bed, or I do not finish my day until I go, Joe, listen, on second thoughts today. And I correct my behavior so that tomorrow that behavior doesn't repeat. Okay? So this is just a mere example that you can have there. Then, again, you identify your streams, and then you identify the behaviors for each one of those streams. And then how all that comes together, again, the framework, it has 4 areas that I identify for my team, and for whenever I apply quota change, these are the streams that I use. I could use others, but I have, particularly since the time of the Washington group, identified that these ones are the best, and these ones work, okay? Then you have 4 levels as well. Let's see how this looks like. So, for example, on the level 1, it's the beginner. It's the first steps of a toddler. And you go and give those behaviors in terms of like a level 1. When it goes to level 2, again, moving up to level 4. Let's look on how this looks with streams. So here you have my favorite 4 streams. It's about supporting the organization strategy. Remember the old adagio of the DevOps movement as well, that is about the strategy aligning, that the business is delivering, that we are delivering strategic value. Right? This is not just about anything. It's about delivering value from the consumer and embedding business strategy into it. Then we have another one, which is accountability. And why do I like this one? Because no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. No one actually, just come up with that one. No one actually wants blame. So if you say to your team, guys fail, try harder, go, and then they fail and you go, how dare you? You can't do that. Right? Sometimes some people do. But accountability is being accountable for your success, for your mistakes, for your decisions. It's not about passing, oh no, I didn't do this because they didn't give me that. No, I didn't do this because I didn't know. Well, okay, what about going and try and find out? What about go and try and find the resources as well? Accountability puts a little bit more of strain in us. The other one, and that's definitely my favorite, the continuous improvement, because everything can be improved. I remember when I was When I was working for the Washington Group, I was the marketing strategist for European and Asia and South America. And one of the things that I would have colleagues, the strategists, the marketeers, and they go, well, what do you think about this? And I go, well, I will change this and change that and this and that. And they'll stop coming and asking me questions. I say, fine. Don't expect me to go and see that something can be improved and just say, that's brilliant. I don't do that. I say, yes, this is very good. Now, do you want to know a little bit more? Right? Do you want to see this improving a little bit more? Because this is why some people ask other people for opinion and for suggestions. Sometimes it's a validation, come on, say how great this is. Oh, you didn't. Right? It's about confidence. So you need to understand if your peer come to you really looking for continuous improvement. All right? The other one, definitely, it's about personal effectiveness. So let's look at that and see how you have those 4 areas. And then when it comes, remember when I said that you also have 4 levels? And the level 1 is for beginners. So the level 1 for continuous improvement, for example, this one, the level 1 is about make suggestions to improve service and process and is open to change. So this is about a member of the team that proactively, without anyone asking, you say, well, listen, I can come and I would like to improve this. I remember back when I was still at uni and I was working at a reception of a company, and I remember that after 2 weeks I was delivering a report on how to improve the service at the reception for clients. No one asked me that. I was just bored. And I'm like, I'll do this. And then you start saying, I could improve that, like that could be improved. And I do have this syndrome that I need to fix the world. So yeah, I started improving the reception for clients. But that is the level 1. And this is important even for your team. How many of you managers do want? I scream internally to my team, tell me what you want. Tell me how you want to roll. Tell me what sort of tools would improve. Right? It's constantly asking. But I want these people to start, hey, Morgan, I had this idea. Great, let's hear. Okay? So when it goes then to the last level of continuous improvement, sets the agenda for change to process and service, use suggestions from staff and removes barriers. Of course, this is upper management, this is leadership. I was once asked a question. So when you start culture change, do you start from the high end, the upper management, or you start from normal staff, no management staff? I say both ends. Because this needs to be so strong. It needs to have an impact so great that needs to start at both ends and everyone meets at the middle. All right? This is not about the leadership saying, hey guys, now you need to be more proactive. Hey guys, now give me more ideas. Now this is about a tornado, a perfect storm that happens. Okay? One of the things I learned with digital is that you can get a lot done with digital for less money. Right? And the same principle applies here. If you want to have that impact, when you think about the synergy of digital marketing, you need to do all the channels at the same time, and you connect all of them. This is the same principle. You start at the same time, and you connect everyone in organization. Make a party out of it for the launch. Right? But everyone at the same time. Right. Let's look at one framework in more detail. So you have there the continuous improvement. On this column here, the first column, it's about the first level that comes, that is a copy-paste from the different screen. But on the level 1, this is some of the behaviors for continuous improvement. Then on the level 2, up to level 4. And you do this sort of thing exactly the same for each area. Again, You can start just with your team, or you can discuss with your HR department, with your program office, with your executive board, and you do a scale throughout the organization. One of the things that you can do as well, if you want to influence for this to happen, do a digital skills audit. There is a good example, is actually from the South Australian government. If you Google South Australia government digital skills audit, Google would give you exactly the audit that you need to do, the sort of questions. You might want to adapt those questions. Also, when it comes about your team, you might want actually to identify how much do they understand actually what continuous improvement is, what accountability is, right? Because the message needs to be clear and everyone needs to be on the same page. Everyone needs to understand what that word means. So there is no dubious, there is no confusion. So, how do you go about encouraging and retaining these behaviours? On a level 1, and there is a lot of mistakes done, is exactly at the moment of hiring. That is something for me that I see the CVs of someone, and it's about, does he have the right skills? Does he have the right certificates? Right? I just recently was interviewing for a digital service delivery manager, and the first line was Agile certificate, Lean certificate, and I was with certificates all over. It's like, I was dizzy, right? And then the guy was sitting in front of me, and I was like, okay, the most important for me is culture fit. And I just have this person opposite me, and I was just like, can I work with you? I don't want to say the names of the guys of my team, let's say another name, can Alex work with this person? I have someone in my team that is actually very peculiar to work with. His mind is absolutely amazing. Right? He's the problem solver of my team. He's priceless, but he's not an easy person to work with. So I need what I have, this new person before me, and I'm just thinking, would this person work well with Peter? Yes, good. Right, next. Now let's go to the proper questions. All right, that is the first thing that I do. Because everything else, people can learn. What they can't learn is good attitude, is good behavior for my team. That they can't learn. That is harder, right? They need to have AWS training. Fine, there's a course for that. Right? Is there a course for people to be team players? Not so much. So then it goes about with a level 2, building behavior. That's when you do the reinforcement. That's when you do the rewarding. That's about the one-to-ones. I find one-to-ones priceless. I'm just anyone doesn't know what a one-to-one is? All right, okay. So one-to-one, it's individual meetings that I have with my team. And I start having them probably for the last 18 years, okay? Once a month, I get either 45 minutes. It used to be 1 hour. Now it's 45 minutes. I'm getting more efficient. So one of the things that happened, once a month, I have 45 minutes with every member of my team. And the only thing I discuss, and there is no paper, and there is no pen, and it's just how you doing? So what's up? How you doing? How you feeling? All right, I know that we just been with GDPR. Whoosh, ouch. But we won, and you were giving, and you grabbed the thing by the horns. Are you okay? No, do you feel decompressed? No, it's good. All right, what is your pain point with work? Certain tools, certain things, too much at the same time, because there are certain people that they prefer order, right? And this is where you start knowing your team. Then you start knowing how Peter reacts to things, what sort of professional Peter is. But then you also need to look at the human part. Because Peter is more than just your developer or your engineer. And Peter might have problems. So one of the things that I do is actually on my stand-ups, we have a moment. I do that. I tend to lead by example. I do not ask my team to do nothing that I will not do. All right? So one of the things I do with the stand-ups, we do the mental check-in. Because sometimes, some days, we're just not up to it. All right? And sometimes the only thing you need to do is just say, like, listen, guys, today I'm not feeling very good. I'm a little bit down, so apologies if I might be a little bit more abrupt. You know what? That is enough for me to... It sort of like shifts the behavior inside you. And I didn't think this was a big thing until 2 months ago. Someone from one of my previous teams sent me a postcard saying, I am alive because of you. And I didn't know that he was so depressed that he was having suicidal thoughts. But having that ability to just share, I'm not feeling very okay today. He actually improves one thing as well. You know the thing like, I think in the United States they call it the duvet day. You don't need to be sick. You're just not up to face the world, and it's called the duvet day. You stay in the sofa or in bed all day, right? And he actually avoids, because if you know that you go to work and that people are actually supporting you, even if you have mental health problems, or you don't need to go to that extreme, you can just have a bad day. That is enough to shift and for you to go to work and say, I'm going to work with friends. You don't need to be close friends, right? But it's a little bit more warmer. Create empathy in your teams, because you know what? That has repercussions on the products that you deliver, on the service that you launch, on the value that you give to your consumers. It is being proven that most empathic teams, that actually can have more value to business, right? So let's continue on topic. Now, the most hardest one, team chemistry. And why is it hard? Because we do not get along with everyone. Sometimes we have big teams, sometimes we have small teams. So the question is, what is a team? A team is made of different individuals. Different skills. Hands up, who thinks that the best team is everyone with the same level of skills? Good people. Right? It's different. All right? Diversity, it's important, not just about, when it's sort of thing that you have, but definitely the skills is important. One of the things I find, I like the NASA crew photos. Usually they're always 7, 8 members. 7, 8 members of a crew. Does that ring a bell? And they are all different. You do not send people to space with all of them being able to fix the toilet. But maybe you should send someone that can fix the toilet. All right? So this is how you go about thinking about your team. It needs to be different people. Not so much about the skills, but also about what is their nature as professionals. To help you with that, I don't know how many of you heard about Dr. Belbin or the Belbin team roles. How many of you heard about it? Oh, fantastic. So little people. So now more of you know. So one of the things that happened, Dr. Belbin, he did a business game, and it was about identifying that sort of different people that would tackle that game and how they work in a team. This was, if I'm not mistaken, something in 1967, 69, something like that. And what happened today, you can actually have their organizations, and there is also the Belbum Institute, that they actually do, is a sort of like multi-choice test. They have about 50 questions, right? For those that are more keen in doing tests, you notice that question number 3 would be asked again in question number 47, slightly different. Because, of course, they want to try to catch those people that try to lead the game. Because, of course, if you are in a certain level, you want to come across as a great team player, as a plant, right? Because that sounds good for your boss. Doesn't mean that you are one. But what I like about the Belbum, for people that actually do it genuine, it actually reveals a lot. Some people, when I did the Belbum, one of the things that I got was the plant, I got the implementator, and I got the team worker. But definitely, I'm not about completing the fine details. And it's okay. It's okay, because that is not my strength. I have other strengths, so I need to find someone in my team that is absolutely badass at the fine detail. I have someone in my team that is great about being a monitor evaluator. I already know that when I need evaluation of ideas or processes, decisions, options, right, I just need to send them not to the whole team, like ask the whole team what you guys think about this. No, I just go to that person. What do you think about this? So I'm using the strengths of my team. So, team. And this is where some teams get very, very wrong. Because for good or for bad or for worse, right, it actually starts with you. You know, sometimes one of the things I like is about when you are blaming someone. Oh, you didn't do this, or that didn't happen. You just like me, pointing one finger. Can somebody tell me how many fingers are pointing at you? Oh, sorry. 3 fingers. Right? It starts with you. And I can tell this, for me, this is like the most demanding part of managing a team. I need to be consistent, which is a surprise if you tell my mom. What? I need to be calm. And my mom will go, what? Because I'm very impulsive, but I need to restrain myself. Because I can't be like jumping and, yeah, I can, but I shouldn't. But I can't be like jumping and like, I have that moment that is about exciting them. Come on, guys, 2 days for GDPR. Let's go and everything. Otherwise, I need to be calm. All right? But this doesn't mean that you need to change according to the wind. You just need is to find what sort of leader are you. And it's not about servant leader. All right, this is about what sort of person are you. One of the things sometimes people, it's about, oh, I read a great book. Right, I'm going to do a checklist and do a behavior. Right? You need to feel. You need to be genuine. So don't try to be something that you're not. It's better to do something consistently that you are rather than what you're not. And it's tiring for you as well. It can be exhausting. When I started at IOP, I spoke with a member of my team because he was very much a leader. He's very much like a leader, but he doesn't have confidence in himself. So what I'm doing is building this confidence with him. And we are totally different. He's more calm. He's more introspective, right? And we do a great balance. But I need to be pulling him as much as he needs to be a little bit more outgoing. All right? So, when it starts with you, then the first thing that you do is know your team. But know the individuals. Okay? on that one-to-one, on those meetings once a month, that you just speak about the person relative to work, right? For example, I have a person in my team that doesn't take holiday until December, and then it takes the whole month. I said, well, I can't have that. And you can't have that either. You need to stop. You need to make breaks. So I'm sort of like forcing him to take holiday. But this is like, it's important because it's about, you know, the momentum, how people go with the marathon that sometimes work is. So one of the things that you go, know your team, know your individuals, and know how they work together. I don't have the luxury of having a pool of 50 developers which I can play in chapters and so on. I can say for this sprint or for this project, I'm going to pick you and you and you. No, I have 8 people. It's the same people all over. What I can do is sort of like shift the leadership of the product or the service depending about their characteristics. So I have this guy, which I already mentioned, which is a brilliant problem solver, right? Is there a puzzle? Give it to him. So I'm giving him the most complex systems with interaction with infrastructure. And that's him happy, right? And I'm happy because I have the best man on the job. Then I have another one, which is more, you know, the one more about ideas. So when it's about meeting with agencies and having the technical workshops, yeah, that's the guy to go. All right. So this is important because actually it makes your work better. And it makes that sort of stress, sometimes really the pressure of managing the team much better as well. Okay. So when you go, you know your team, define the roles and responsibilities is about having this definition about where everyone can land their best strengths, okay? Then it's about feedback. I get the feedback to almost everything I do from my team. Sometimes it's open, hands up, simple as that. Sometimes I actually give post-its like, come on guys, vote. Because I like democracy. But more than just, most times I like democracy. I can be a drill sergeant. Particularly when the deadline is there emerging, I just like, I don't care. Just do it. Right? But it's about getting from them the feedback on how they want to roll, on how you would like things to be done around here. Okay? And I'm also like, I'm the leader. It doesn't mean that I know everything. Jesus Christ, God forbid. Right? I need to be asking and consulting with them because I can fail. And sometimes I do fail magnanimously. So if I'm constantly checking with my team as well, also with my peers, sometimes I go and seek at the heads and go, come on, Louise, you're the right person for me to ask this. What do you think about this? Then I can go to Joe. Joe, you are the right peer for me to ask about this. And then I also go to upper management, to my boss, and other directors. Okay, feedback is important because we are only human. Cyborg, but human. Right, reward and celebrate, failings. The first time that we celebrate failure in my team was very, we honestly doing this? Yes, we are. Because it's needed. Because I need to make them feel. There is an American poet, which she died. Some of you might heard Maya Angelou. And Maya, she wrote that people will always forget what you tell them, but they will always remember what you made them feel. Right? Make your team feel. Because you can say, you can send emails, you can put on Slack, you can do whatever you want. It's about feeling. So feel, touch. You know why storytelling is so important nowadays for marketing? Because finally people discover that storytelling has been what we've been doing since the cave people. We've been telling stories since the times of caves, and that has how history and language growth. Storytelling is about creating connection. It's about making people feel. That's why there is these case studies. And that's about some of the things that you most remember, the ones that you feel. So when it goes about reward, make them feel either that success or that the failure actually achieved something for it. Right, guys, we're approaching the end sooner than I was thinking. In terms of like key resource, Team Geek, I read this book in 2015, and it was the book that made me change my professional life. One of the things that I do, I started working in, even when I was at uni, as a radio presenter. I was the first woman DJ in Algarve. I've been like changing jobs, but the consistency has been digital since for the last 20 years. But I got bored of it. Digital marketing is all the same. You change the audience. There is now a little bit more techniques. There is, of course, automation. There is, of course, boots coming up. So what I'm thinking is about the biggest advice that my mom gave it to me. No one is irreplaceable. Some people are harder to replace. Make sure you are hard to replace. So I've been doing that, is seeing where professionally the world is going. So digital marketing doesn't tell me much. I read this book and I was, wow, I want to manage a team of developers. Say no one ever. I didn't say that. I was like, oh gosh, this is a big challenge. It's really this difficult. And but I think it was the author. It was just like, yeah, I could do this. I understand development. When I was at the Washington Group, we had a big team of developers. We had sprints. I was doing Agile back then as well. And I found it was fun, right? And I'm a little bit nerdy and a little bit geeky. So I thought, yeah, I'll go and be like the cool guys. Right? So this book was actually the responsible that made me think that I wanted to go more to development and service delivery. The other one, Harvard Business Review. Guys, if you are in management, if you are thinking about strategy, but definitely people management, Harvard Business Review have the best resources that I come across. And of course, McKinsey and sometimes Gartner. These two authors from this book, they now have they Googlers. I don't know if they are still Googlers, but when they wrote the book, they were at Google, and the example that they use is from Google as well. And there is another one after this one, but I totally recommend. The Team Geek actually provides values for developers teams, and which is like values that I've been trying to incorporate in my own teams. This is not about the company or the organization values. This is about your team, my team. And it's about humility. That sometimes we don't always have the answers for everything, and sometimes we don't know. I get bored of people that know everything, don't you? There's so much to discover, right? Then the other one is about respect. Not only just respect between team members, but also with a larger part of the organization, including respect with your clients, with your consumers, with your users. Right, guys. That is pretty much from me. And if you have questions, I'll have them. Hey!
Yeah, so basically told one comment from your speech that basically refutes the whole rest of that, is that the changing personality is very hard, if not impossible. So the whole speech kind of makes it, okay, so what we are doing here. Can you comment on that? I know it's kind of nasty, sorry for that. But
No, that's okay. Well, it is difficult because, people are hard to change. Who likes to change? Come on. Let's be honest. Who likes to change? No, it's okay. I like to change. I actually don't know what is so bad about change. One of the things that I do at work, whenever I have opportunity, do you guys know the story about the lobster? Not the film. I haven't seen the film anyway, but... Right, the lobster. Everyone can visualize the lobster right now? Yeah? Right? Bakes. Delicious. And tell me one thing. The shell. Hard. Right? Do they think that the shell grows with the lobster? Have you ever thought about that? No. Oh, somebody knows. Right, so lobsters are born this size, soft shell. They start growing, the shell becomes harder, and they want to grow more, and the shell doesn't grow. So you want to grow, but the shell doesn't let you grow. So what do? It's called shedding. Lobsters do this about 10 to 15 times in their lifetime, which is they literally throw their shell apart, and then they have the soft skin, and then wait until another shell is born, right? Another soft shell that becomes hard shell, and they grow into it, and they have to take it out again. Another example from the nature, eagles. Right? American eagles. Big, right? They live up to 80 years. And they have the beak. And the beak is what they use to grab food and to trail apart like, really tough skin from meat, from animals. One of the things that happen when you live until 80 years, right? Even your teeth, right? So you can't really throw your teeth out and grow a new one, but the eagle can pull their beak out and grows a new one. Does that sound like painless? No. But the eagle go, eat, die, change, die, change. And it's exactly the same thing. It's like, I don't know how most people go across like, here we go, in our lives. No, I don't need to change. Because this is very fine. And I'm just screaming out of the rooftops, you cannot survive without change. Embrace it. Just go like rocket, like, yeah, change. It's my brother. Right? It's all good. And this is what you have to do, but you need to communicate this to your organization. Right? Every chance that I have to speak to my organization, like a staff meeting, like a digital show and tell and so on, I'm just calling and screaming about change and about you need to think about where you're going. Because some people are waiting to... That's my favorite part. It's like people saying, well, I'm actually afraid that one day a robot is going to take my job. Not totally silly. Before a robot takes a job, another human does. And sometimes that's what you have to do. You need to stick a fork in them and twist, because people need to be awake. Because I don't get like we are just like going and moaning and whining, waiting for things to happen, come to us. No, that's not going to happen. Right, guys, another question. Hey.
On the feedback, is one part which I find sometimes difficult, not to receive feedback, but to get feedback. I have people in my team who are very open to give feedback and very active, and some who are very reserved. Although I try to make the environment as good as possible, as good as I can. Do you have any ideas or things you can help me with.
All right, with the feedback, again, let's go back to the people. Some people like, ask me a question, I'm there, right? Some people are more reserved. So you need to think you have different types of collecting feedback. It can be the post-its, it can be the surveys, it can be chat ops, it can be by email, right? Some people are okay with giving feedback open to the all, reply all, right? Others are just for you. A lot of people I know will be emailing me or tweeting questions later on. Fine. Okay, this is how you need to do. It's about knowing your team, and that one size doesn't serve all. All right? And you need to respect that. You need to respect some people are okay with the open, some people prefer written. I have members of my team that they prefer I go to them face to face, and I know that others prefer that I send an email. I'm fine as long as I get the feedback, as long as I know what they're thinking. Right? Another question. All right?
How do you manage when...
Say that again.
How do you manage when someone is good at something, but he's interested in something else? Like he's a really good problem solver, but he doesn't want to work on that.
Oh, shit! That is a great question. That is a great question. Right. So tell me one thing. So did everyone else hear the question? You at the back? Right, I'm going to repeat. This beautiful question is about how do you pick someone that is really great about being product owner? You want that person to be a product owner, but the person goes, nah. Right. That's a very good question, isn't it? So, one of the things, how you go. You have two options. My favorite option is actually, on those one-to-ones, when I start a new team, I go about, what is your ambition? What do you want to do? Oh, I want to be Drupal 8 expert. Okay, fine. I need a Drupal 8 expert, so that's good. I'll go and work with this person because aligns with the business objectives. So I'm picking up on what the person wants rather than what I want the person to do. In this case, I will need to do a devil advocate. Can any other person be a product owner? Do I have any runners-up for product owner? All right? Because forcing someone to do something that they do not want to do, or they were not hired to do that, right? That actually poses, that's not going to happen. You're not going to have a good product owner. You're going to have a bad product owner. You're going to have the product owner, yes, but not the good one. So it's best to go and find out either someone that wants to rise to be the product owner, and you train, and then you find out. The other thing is, what you could do is, hey, Margot, I need a product owner. You are great at that, and I know that you don't want to do, but hey, let's compromise until I find the right person. Would you mind taking the boat out? So I appeal to the sacrifice. All right? I appeal to the commitment, to the mission. And some people respond to that. Other goes, no. Damn. Guys, it's people. It's humans. We tend to forget that when you have a family, when you have your friends, we have a certain way with our human interactions. Right? And we tend to park all of that at the door of the office, thinking that our teams, our tribe, are people that they should obey what we say because they're being paid for. It doesn't work like that. Right? You used to, and see how happy people were, or so productive, right? Things are different, definitely very different, and you need to move with. Think about what would work for you, and then adapt with the individuality of each member of your team. Is that good? All right. Any other question?
I have kind of follow-up on that, especially if you ask the guy what he would like to do, he answers, I would like to use Kubernetes and so on, and you don't need it. So what's the feedback then? Because I would be afraid as the person that I would be fired or something like that. So you have to come something with that kind of feedback.
I find a pet project for them. That is actually something, one of the things that working for a charity, if any of you works for a charity, wow, okay. So let me tell you one thing about working for charity. It's not calmer. It's not like less pace. It's more hectic. It's more stressful, right? So yeah, don't work for a charity. But one of the things that happens there, even when you work for a charity, with a lot of organizations, they also have that, which is the ability for people to develop certain projects as long as that projects further down the line actually deliver some business value or deliver something for the organization. So you can actually identify certain hours of the day, as much as we have hours that we want to make time for Kazan, for example, is finding time for that pet project, right? The thing also is, let's not forget, when you go about doing the job descriptions, one of the things I suggest, try to do the job descriptions as general as possible. Because then it just comes, you're not putting people into boxes. You're not giving them labels of what they are supposed to do in their job. You give them a T-shirt. And today the T-shirt is needed here. Okay? And tomorrow the T-shirt is needed here. Your skills are needed here. So this actually works about on the generalist way that we want people to go. We do need skills. We need specialists as well. All right, but it's having that broad generalist as much as possible. Then what I'll say, communication. And communication sometimes is about compromising as well. Like any marriage. How many of you are married? Right. Of those, keep your hand up or keep your hand up. How many of you actually understand that marriage is compromise? Hands. You're my hero. So it's about this. And then this is like sometimes we do not communicate. And this is about communication with your team. Start with a one-to-one. Build a relationship with them there. Be the individual relationship. This is not about, oh, you like chicken, I like chicken, let's be buddies. Right? Oh, you are into surf, I used to surf, yeah, so let's talk about surf. This is not about that, all right? You can play with the games, you can play with hobbies and things. Definitely, I'm discovering that hobbies can help, but this is about creating a relationship, genuine, empathic relationship. If someone from your team has the kid ill, you just go, you need something from me now, but be genuine. Because the rewards, right, it can be double going back. Just think about how much would you do, right? A salary increase of 50% and you're going to be nailed to the desk 20 hours per day. Who goes for it? Good people, right? There is a sense of sacrifice, and you have your manager with you side by side, right? Not talking about every week, 20 hours, but would you go an extra mile when needed? My team was absolutely amazing on the days before GDPR. I owe them, right? And I say to them straight out, guys, I'm usually proud. It's overwhelming. I'm actually getting goosebumps. And this is about giving this sense to them. Yeah, it was worth it. I might have more gray hair now, but yeah, I did a good job. Guys, that's it. Thank you.